Hello everyone, I'm back again. Having used all my boomer skills and talents to set up a simple video and make a very simple intro, I thought I'd say hello in person before I get down into the small screen and start droning on about nanometers, temperatures, pressures, radiation, pressure, photons, all that stuff. This one's going to be very technical and really for the true super fans of alt propulsion and physics and engineering and things like that. I think while I have this stuff set up, I'm going to do a video shortly after this, which is going to be more entertaining because it's a remake of my old speech, table pounding, voice going up and down, little showbiz, little acting, little entertainment. But it's a good, solid overview of, quote, light matter interaction in a gravitational field, which is, I think, what we're talking about here and in general with UAPs, alt propulsion, all that stuff, as some of you know about me. So, what else did I want to say? My apologies if you heard any turkeys during that music. I have the window open because it's unseasonably warm here today, and they were hanging around my window. And later on, if you stick around for who knows how long of details about MH370 and what I think happened, we're going to get into it deep, because with this AI grok, it's very easy to have something printed out describing what you're saying. It's very readable, but readable to you and listenable, I hope. But long and complicated. But where was I? Oh, I was going to say, if you stick around, so if you make it through all that, and you heard that turkey, well, there's two of them. At the very end, I'll show you a picture of that turkey I just took. So hang around, folks. I'll be back in a few moments now that I'm set up. I got to reset and get ready. So hang in there. All right, now's as good a time as any, I suppose. To get started with these things, you just have to start. I don't have any scripts or anything, and not really the best extemporaneous speaker you've ever heard, but once I get going, I stumble around, and then it gets smoother and smoother. By the time you're done with it, you don't want it to be over because you're used to it. You're on a roll. But it's been like at least 6 months since I've been around with a new video. So let's just get started. What are we doing here? Today, because of recent events with the White House, with the big podcasters, the MH370 mystery videos are in the news again, even more than they already were. And ever since they came out, I've had a rough idea what's going on, what I think might have happened, maybe. And for the purposes of this video, we're assuming this is real. And so it was time for me to make a video. It's like, wow, this is really getting up there. I should throw in my 2 cents. I did a little bit before as a piece of another video, but this certainly deserves its own standalone. And I felt like it was time to make another one anyway. I just didn't have anything to do. I've said most of what I wanted to say already. So let's get into it. This is called MH370 Light Bubble Theory. What Might Have Happened by me, Bryan Kelly. So, let's start looking at our little tabs here that keep us moving through it. Now, I lied and said if you stick around, I'll show you the turkey. All right? There it is, right in the beginning. So, good for you for hanging in there, because this is going to be nuts and bolts city. But the beauty of it is, this grok AI will summarize it for you. It's like, take all this garble, write a couple of paragraphs, summarize, which for human being, that takes a while. it took me a year to write that speech I was referring to, and I'm going to record and post soon. And it's just, to gather and collate and put all those thoughts into an organized fashion about something that's brand new, a brand new theory. It's a lot of work. So thank you to the inventors of Grok and AI in general. I think it's going to change everybody's life for the better. So let's get started. There's the turkey. Bye, turkey. Yeah, they might come to the window, which is still open, by the way. So we could have a few guests in the audience. So we get started with, of course, Ashton Forbes, who is the one that popularized these videos because he found them, deep somewhere in Reddit land or somewhere, and started looking into them. Like, what if this is real? And why isn't it? And what's, every aspect of it he's got covered. And, it may as well just, everyone has an opinion on it. To me, of course, I don't know. When I first came out, I'm like, oh, that's old, that's CGI VFX from a video game movie that never came out or something. I don't know anything about this stuff. That's, I'm a boomer, as I mentioned, and will again. And so for me, looking at something and identifying it like that, difficult. I don't play a lot of games or see a lot of CGI movies or know anything. I can barely make a video on YouTube, let alone know about VFX. So, I'm just going with the flow. My point is, I think he's made a very good argument that hasn't been debunked. I looked at all those debunks that he gets. I look at them, from the reticle to the explosion that sort of matches. All you have to do is skew the thing and it matches. So all you have to do is change it to make it what I don't buy those yet. And but of course it's a mystery and astounding if that is real. And everyone else has covered that, and I follow it carefully. So I'm not going to go into like what if this, what if that. Everyone else has already done that. I'm here to talk about how it might possibly work if it was real life or a movie. If you wanted to be simulating something for a movie. I'm not getting into that, but I was into that with Grok. Like, what would a movie make it look like? Blah blah blah. That's not important today. We're talking about what if that's real? What the hell is that? Are these what President Trump said? Weapons we don't even know how they work. What does that mean? In the same week as the guy says we can bend space-time, the science advisor, or whoever he is, a lot of stuff going on out there. But you probably know that if you're watching this. So, let's just move along. Thank you, Ashton, for bringing this up because it gets people talking about things like zero-point energy, light bubbles, gravity generation, warp drive, all that good stuff. Now, I have my angle, my opinion, my original theory about it, so we know where I stand. But it's good that everyone's talking about everything. So let's move along here. And we're going to take a look at the videos. Why not? Everyone's seen them a million times, but if we're going to make a video about it, may as well show it again in detail. So, Ashton's channel has these conveniently clipped for us. So we are using this with fair use. I'll put up my little badge later, but it's in the news. It's a public thing. I don't think Ashton's going to mind or anyone else. But so let's roll with it. Here we are. Sounds off in case of music rights or whatever. Here we are. You can see for yourself what it is. It's been described a million times better than I can do it. This is a thermal video for those of you listening. And I do recommend listening to me because I don't show a lot of photos. Someday I'm going to get that speech set to an animated something or other, and it'll be good when I do, but I haven't gotten around to it. So here we go. Here's the thermal. Orbs surrounding the plane, pulling in what looks like cold light, pushing out what looks like cold light to me. In that pattern, sinusoidal pattern that reverses. And I'm looking at that at first glance. I'm like, oh, that's a movie. Yeah. But as we know, there's too many details that there it goes. Poof! Into what I would call a bubble of cold light. That's what's recorded by the sensors. It may be a wormhole, it may be something else. But to me, that's what it is. For the purposes of this video, too. So we're still looking at it. I guess we're repeating it here. We're doing close-ups on an orb. Look at that thing. Wow. That's pretty cool. Real or fake? That is something else. I've never seen anything like it. Neither have you, unless you work for the government. So look at that thing. So it's flying around again. Cold light here and there. Close-ups, reticles. There's a jet going up. There's the thing going down. Going around, wrapping around. And I'm going to tell you what it might be doing there. There it goes, the cold light. There it is. It zapped. Is that the end? No, we still have 20 seconds. We're looking at it slowly now. A slowed down final zap. The orbs converge. We see the cold light and shockwave. And the thing quickly disappears. We see nothing in the next video. All right, so this one's done. And we're going to go on to the next video, which is called the satellite video. And Ashton has this good, knowledge of how the thermal drones and the video satellites combine, and how their data's all mashed together to create these photos, these images, and it's really interesting. So here we go. Here's another version. Orbs coming out of nowhere, surrounding, wrapping around, wrapping that bubble, going backwards, tying it up, reverse, up and down, around, blow that cold light back in around the thing. That's what I think's happening. Sucking it out of the air, blowing it in there, blowing the air out of the way. That's key. We are making a bubble, in my opinion. So you can't see it there because it's the same color as the temperature of the air. We'll get into that. Boom, poof. You see a little bit of visible, and on that thermal thing, you see cold light. And I will tell you why that makes sense and why Grok backs it up or suggests it. When you're working with that thing, it actually improves your argument sometimes and adds some stuff, whatever. We'll get into that. It helps sometimes. And then it asks you questions to challenge you. All right, so here is our best image of the thing. Right as the bubble, in my opinion, the bubble is formed. That's the black thing it's going into. It's a thing of light that cannot be seen. You can't see heat. You can't see cold. So that's why it shows up as black and cold. The waves around it, variously described as shock waves of light and air and light in air, which makes sense. We're just looking at that, and that's the best picture. And that's why it's on my thumbnail. And kudos to whoever froze that on that frame. I looked at that thing a million times trying to slow it down and everything, but it took a real video person to capture that one frame, and that's beautiful. Thank you, whoever did that. So now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty here. And what is that? Oh, it's the theory, my light bubble theory on MH370. And I'm going to read it to you. So I hope you're driving or walking or exercising, because all you're going to see on your screen is tweets. Posts, sorry. Excuse me, I'm going to take a sip of coffee. And, with all this recent attention, pushed me over the edge. It's like I have to do something now. So I got into it with Grok. And this is what we came up with. I told him my theory about it, and the thing will write a nice paragraph for you. So we're going to be reading that, and we're going to be reading the backup of it. So that's what I mean. This is only for the super fans of the nuts and bolts. We're getting into Kelvin temperatures, wavelengths, kilometers per second, etc., and so forth. And gravitons, photons, all that stuff. So if you're into that, and you wonder what happened to this thing, if it is real, or even if it's fake, somebody has to think of something that at least resembles what I'm saying here. And more importantly, you should be getting ideas or dismissing them. Just consider them about old propulsion, UFOs, UAPs. How do they move? How could things be done using known physics? What I'm saying is pushing engineering to the edge, but I'm not going anywhere that says, well, it's hard. It's too theoretical. No evidence. I'm relying, as far as I'm concerned, I'm relying less on that sort of stuff than anyone else. And I also believe my theory is completely original, because I hear a lot of derivative stuff coming from experts, which is fine. But it's also fine to have a microphone and say what I'm going to say. So let's start reading. MH370 light bubble theory. Reading. These are summary level paragraphs, the next two. And these tweets will be posted below. All this stuff will be posted below. Links to this, everything I refer to here that I can remember to put in. The scenario, M- for a dramatic pause. Metamaterial orbs creating an IR UV light bubble using spin-to graviton light interactions. I assume gravitons you can use in your mind's eye, aether, you can use space-time, you can use whatever else you want. I prefer the graviton. I think of it that way. It's a light-matter interaction no matter what. Light is interacting somehow through some medium. We all agree there's some medium below light. Be it the vacuum itself, be it a coating of gravitons above the vacuum like I think it is, be it something called space-time, which as far as I'm concerned, that's only a mathematical concept. It's not a real thing. I've said this before, and I don't want to beat it to death here, but whatever it is, when you hear me say gravitons, just say, he's wrong, it's ether, and keep listening. So, boy, I hope I don't go off like that the whole time. I won't. Graviton light interactions to detach from Earth's gravity, causing apparent teleportation, their word, via Earth's motion, with thermal signatures from ambient temperatures. I'm not reading motions and temperature numbers. Fits the MH370's visuals, assuming they are real, which I told it to do. The flash mark detachment orbs support advanced technology, and disappearance aligns with kinematic teleportation. IR UV wavelengths explain the lack of shimmer or lensing, and subtle IR signatures blend with the temperature background. In other words, it's ambient light temperature, accounting for no prior thermal clues. The shockwave's IR signature matches the thermal view. Localized zero gravity and stabilization ensure steady flight and no external anomalies. A minor mismatch, subtle aerodynamic IR cues, is attributed to their faintness. The scenario is feasible within speculative physics, not theoretical, just speculate. I don't want to argue with that stuff now. Requiring graviton's interaction and 10 to the 20th joules, which it says is reasonable. I'm not sure that's the right number, but it says, gravity interacting with light, or you can call it ether interacting with light, or you can call it space-time interacting with light. Photons, space is full of it. You got to deal with it. So, and you can't pretend it's not there and say you're dealing with the vacuum when you haven't isolated the vacuum. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't, but saying you are with such confidence, that's your decision. So now I think we're on the second paragraph here. Yes, this is another summary type paragraph called description. Orbs weave an invisible IR UV bubble, enveloping the plane in a vacuum with faint IR signatures, blending into the same temperature sky. I'm not reading temperatures. They're in Kelvin anyway. You can look it up on my tweets. At the flash, graviton interactions detach the bubble, leaving it stationary as Earth moves. Listen up, folks. Leaving the bubble stationary as Earth moves at 3 kilometers per tenth of a second. The plane vanishes with an IR shockwave in thermal view. Non-visible effects, ambient thermal signatures, and localized gravity align with the video's sci-fi kinematic spectacle, assuming it's reality. So what it does is it creates a bubble which is stable in space. It's stationary. It's not part of the Earth moving anymore. It's not in the atmosphere. It's just visiting. So when the Earth turns at that high speed, 67,000 miles an hour or whatever, the bubble stays put with a thing in it while the atmosphere moves. Now, how long it's in the bubble and where the atmosphere moves, that's above my pay grade. But effectively, and this is Grok's word, they came up with it, it looks like teleportation. It mimics it. So that's the gist of it. That's a pretty good summary. Now we're going to get into mind-numbing details. Tweet 2. Context of the video. Visuals. The video shows a Boeing 777 at 35,000 feet. I think it's lower than that. So those temperatures are off. If so, but it's ambient either way. Surrounded by 3 fast-moving orbs, followed by a bright flash and the plane's instantaneous disappearance with a shockwave-like effect in the thermal view. Scenario. The orbs manipulate ambient light, predominantly in non-visible wavelengths, IR, UV, to form a high-intensity light bubble using radiation pressure to displace air and minimize Rayleigh scattering. What we're doing is taking over. We're pushing the air out. We're an advanced species or something, or advanced humans with weapons. We're pushing the air out of the way with our radiation pressure and blowing everything, and we're taking over here. This is our area now. We're the intelligent beings. You're just nature. So we're blowing a bubble, just like you do in water when you blow air into it. You get a bubble. So this is blowing light into it to create a light bubble. And picking up again, a spin-2 graviton. Sometimes they make grammatical errors. It's not one graviton. It's all gravitons. Planck length probably. Universes of them in an angstrom. Gravitons interacting with light detaches the bubble from Earth's gravity, causing it to remain stationary relative to the CMB, which I didn't even mention, but that's what it is. Cosmic microwave background radiation, which is where it's going. That's space. That's most of the universe. While the Earth moves at 30 kilometers a second. This mimics teleportation. Gravitational anomalies are confined to the bubble. Visual effects are non-visible, IR, UV, and thermal signatures arise from the ambient temperatures, explaining the lack of prior IR cues. Now that's I'm just reading now, so I'm not thinking about it at the time, but I went over all this in detail. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You don't see what you can't see if you don't have the right camera, and some of these cameras aren't tuned to what, the bubble forming. So, excuse me, I need a sip. So, let's look at our key assumptions. About 5 bullet points, I guess. Yes. Assumption 1. The Orbs technology is speculative, but obeys physical laws, including a hypothetical spin-2 graviton. Gravitons have not been proven to exist. True. Gravity acts like it does, but there has been no isolation of a Planck-length graviton. So let's be clear about that. I am not making wild claims, but I'm telling you that it's hypothetical, and I would say likely, but it's consistent with Einstein and whatever. Like I said, call it ACE or call it space-time, whatever. Light is interacting with it with respect to matter, which is what air is. So, assumption 2. Non-visible wavelengths, IR, UV, dominate visual effects undetectable in optical view. Yeah. Assumption 3. Gravitational detachment is localized with no external space-time distortion. Yeah, we're only worried about this plane. We're not bothering anyone else with gravitational waves or anything else. We're bubbling out of there. That's it. Boom. Another assumption. Ambient temperatures produce subtle IR signatures not requiring a distinct IR glow. Yeah, it blends in. It uses ambient light. Why would you bother using something else when it's already like that? That's an extra step, stepping it up or down for some reason. Okay. Another assumption. Earth's motion drives the kinematic effect, right? I'll say it again. If you're stationary in the atmosphere, you're going 67,000 miles an hour to us. Same with the Tic Tacs or whatever. You take off the handbrake on the Tic Tac. You tap the gas a little bit. Whatever, it's like that level of sensitivity. For them to stay still in our atmosphere, in their mind, they're going 67,000 miles an hour just to keep up with this planet. See what I'm saying? So that's what's happening here, possibly. That's what I think. And the last assumption is the visuals are treated as genuine observations, saying, hey, the video's real. Let's grind on that. Now, the next tweet is about Earth's speed through space. Now, here we can save time because this is a backup calculation. To come up with their numbers, they go, it's AI. It's not just plain old half-wit me. They go through orbital speed, solar system motion, Milky Way motion, Earth rotation, net velocity, kinematic effect. I'll read that one. Bottom line is, they say, in 1/10 of a second, you're going 3 kilometers. Okay, I'll buy it. I didn't check your math, Mr. Grok. Causing the plane to vanish relative to its surroundings, mimicking teleportation. So is that teleportation? I don't know. Let's have an argument about it. Strictly speaking, I don't know. Grok's calling it that. So you can argue with that. It's something. Next tweet. If the video were real, how would the scenario work? Reading. Assuming the video depicts a real event, let's describe how the orbs create a non-visible light bubble using a spin-2 graviton, not all of them, to detach it from Earth's gravity and cause apparent teleportation, leveraging ambient temperatures for thermal signatures and elevate consistency with the video's visuals, treating them as genuine observations. 1. Orbs technology metamaterials, waveguides, plasmonics, and energy storage. My favorite stuff, because that's what you need. Okay, human beings, you want to get off of here? You want to be a grown-up gray or whatever, a green man flying around in an interstellar light pumper? You got to start somewhere. Unfortunately, for now, that appears to be me, unless there's someone on the inside of that, which I don't know. So let's talk about those technologies: metamaterials, waveguides, plasmonics, and energy storage. 1. What metamaterials enable near-perfect absorption and redirection of light. Optimized for IR and UV to minimize Rayleigh scattering. Yeah, okay. Follow me on X. You'll see I'm tweeting about this stuff every day. I get Google alerts on the Google Scholar, and it sends me every day about near-perfect absorption, redirection of light, optimizing for IR and UV, whatever. All that stuff. I've been following photonics very seriously ever since I got down the rabbit hole. That's another long story. I'm not getting into it. Waveguides. Channel non-visible light with minimal loss for precise field formation. 3. Plasmonics amplify light into sub-wavelength hotspots, boosting radiation pressure in IR and UV. So plasmonics, what's that? That's plasma on a stick. It's doing the same thing, only it's on a solid, whatchamacallit, an orb, a surface, a whatever. Doing the same thing, only there's less, in my opinion, there's less chance of it blowing apart. So, anyway, maybe the advanced, galactics can handle loose plasma, but we're shaved apes in the beginning. So we're going to start with plasmonics, in my opinion. Lastly, energy storage. It says here, store 10 to the 20th joules in quantum capacitors, supplementing sunlight to achieve some numbers and figures. They want to do it their way with quantum capacitors. I'm thinking of more of the light flowing. You're not storing it that long, but they're making the point that, you pull it in, you don't have to immediately pump it out. That's what I was trying to tell them. And they said, you can store it. And then they came up with this method. But I'm saying those orbs are pulling light, throwing it around, in, through, out, and around, whipping that air out of the way. Imagine giant nuclear submarine pumps in your favorite big swimming pool, the biggest one you've ever seen. And cranking those up, and the pool's full of water. That's going to be whirlpooled down to the dry bone in about a second. That's what we're talking about doing here with the light and the air. Get it out of there. So, slightly different, but close enough for you to imagine the whirlpools we're creating. And what is a whirlpool? It's air or water should be. So we're working along those same lines here. So that's your conceptual visualization. Capability, but we haven't achieved that yet. We're on the edge of it. We could, if you put those plasmonics and waveguides in the right order, this can happen. But we're just only now learning about waveguides, plasmonics, metamaterials. I mean, how long's it been? Not long. Photonics has only been around, Well, we'll get into that. That'll be a whole burgeoning field. Optomechanics, photonics, etc. Now, what are the capabilities? Full spectrum control, prioritizing IR and UV for non-visible effects. Stored energy drives graviton interactions and the flash in the optical wavelength. Yeah, you save it up for the big zap. You're moving around, you're pulling it in, you're storing it up. Okay, fellas, it's time to blow it out. Let's cut the cake. Boom, poof. And that's the poof. Because you have to build up a bubble around it, and you have to get some stuff to build it up with. So let's see. Stored energy drives graviton's interactions in the flash. Light interacting with gravity. I've done other videos on that. That's a whole nother story. We don't want to get into that right now in too much detail. But I will tell you this anecdote. You're going to love this or hate it. So I'm working with Grok generally on this stuff, and I'm talking about light matter interaction, or light gravity and light interaction, and we're bickering about that. And I finally convinced it. You can't have cause without effect, observer without observed, all this stuff. How is gravity going to affect light, as we know it does? But light's not going to, in some way, affect gravity. Well, you don't have to be Thomas Aquinas or Aristotle to figure that out, because you're going to lose that argument. And Grok came around, and they said, "Oh yeah, you're right. How could that be? Observer observed, reaction, conservation of something or other. You know, it's the rules. So in some way, it's going to interact, and that's what we're going to master." Did you hear me? Okay. Sorry, that's my little elevator speech. So, what's the next point? Oh, finally, scattering mitigation via IR prioritization and plasmonic cloaking. They're saying it's using, that's why you can't see it. Is it cloaking? No, it's using ambient, but I don't want to argue with a robot about what a flying saucer is doing. I'm losing it. All right, next tweet. Creating the light bubble with non-visible wavelengths. Mechanism. Where am I? Mechanism. The orbs absorb sunlight and release stored energy, forming a high-intensity field in IR and UV. Radiation pressure creates a vacuum bubble. And there's a vacuum bubble, less than 1 Pascal. And I'm skipping over some of these scientific stuff because it's cumbersome. You read it yourself. Gradual formation. The bubble grows over 10 to 30 seconds from a field near the orbs to a halo enveloping the plane. Invisible in optical wavelengths, but detectable in thermal and or UV sensors. Rayleigh scattering mitigation. IR wavelengths scatter less, and plasmonic cloaking reabsorbs scattered photons. Yes, thank you. Thank you for saying that again for me. It's reabsorbing. It's controlling. Okay, when you look at these things, you got to think like, what if we could control it? Not that can't happen or this can't happen. Flash, a broadband pulse. Strong in IR and UV, but visible due to spillover. Yeah, that's right. Marks bubble completion and graviton mediated detachment. It's light mediated, pushing around the graviton, but I'll allow it. Prominent in thermal view. So when it finally flashes, you see a little visible. That's what we see, that white flash. But on the IR or thermal video, you see a lot, don't you? And you see what you don't see, and you start to see what you don't see, the black hole, which is a light bubble, and you see the shock waves. So when I read this little blurb, I'll read it again. I'm like, yes! A flash, a broadband pulse, strong in IR UV, but visible to spillover, marks, there's another paragraph like this too, marks bubble completion and graviton mediated detachment, prominent in thermal view. Okay. Not so exciting the second time. Thermal signatures using ambient temperatures. This is footnotes, but I'll read them anyway. Maybe skip them over, but just to give you a level of detail. So they talk about ambient conditions. They assume it's at 35,000 feet, which I don't think it is. But they assume, they're like, if you told it was lower, it would assume the temperature there. Emitting black body radiation. See, this stuff's real detailed. This is for the true diehards. So, I'll read some of it. Air displacement. Radiation pressure pushes air outward, creating a vacuum bubble. Anyone can understand that without calculations. Displaced air compresses at the boundary, raising temperature slightly, producing a faint IR signature detectable in thermal view. Turbulence and contrails. Air movement causes turbulence, mixing temperature gradients visible as faint IR fluctuations that blend with the ambient background. Yeah, ambient light. Can't see it because you can't see it. And it's using what's there, so it's not sticking out like a sore thumb. Why would it? Plasma effects. Air ionization produces localized heating in small regions, emitting IR sparks that merge with ambient signatures due to low intensity relative to the flash. So yeah, you're getting some ion wind, some plasma, little, not sheaths, but some sparks, Yeah, no one's denying plasma, but it's not the key. Well, I shouldn't say it's an effect, not a cause. Depends on how you do. We'll get into it later. We'll get into that later. Hold on, I need a sip. Lack of prior IR cues. The absence of a distinct bubble glow is explained by subtle IR signatures near ambient levels, detectable only faintly in thermal view and blending with the background until the flash's intense IR UV emission. So that's a footnote for you. You photonics fans and physics. Okay, shockwave. Post-detachment, air rushing into the vacuum bubble creates a pressure wave, raising temperatures to something or other Kelvin, producing an IR signature observed as a shockwave in thermal view. That makes sense. If you're going to be blowing, think about the water again. Think about the pool. Think about the whirlpool. Think about the bathtub drain, that sort of stuff. Visual effects. Build up. No shimmer, halo, or lensing in optical view due to IR UV dominance. Thermal sensors detect a faint IR boundary. UV sensors would show sparks or halo. Okay. Like I said, I'm reading. But I went over all this, and yeah, it makes sense. Contrail effects. Contrails warp, producing a subtle IR fluctuations. In thermal view, not prominent in optical view. Yeah. Plasma sparks. Ionization emits a couple of sparks. I won't go into the details. Flash, a broadband pulse, strongest in IR and UV. Appears white in optical view. Spillover, which made sense. Because it's getting both. It's using both. But the dominant is the IR UV, especially the IR temperature of coldness, apparently. Whatever it is, it's some temperature, ambient temperature. It dominates thermal view. Pardon me. I may need a break here soon. Yeah, this is long. But you wanted it. Maybe you didn't. Spin 2 graviton and graviton detachment. Graviton concept, a massless spin 2 particle that mediates gravity. Assumed to interact with IR UV photons, enabling gravitational manipulation. Mechanism, the high intensity field, couples with gravitons, suppressing their propagation within the bubble, detaching it from Earth's gravitational field. It's a bubble. It's not in your atmosphere anymore. You're just spinning by now. Bye-bye. Localized anomalies. Zero gravity and stabilization occur only within the bubble. No external space-time distortion. For example, lensing of background stars is beyond bubble effects. Yeah. Detachment effect. The bubble remains stationary relative to the CMB, while the Earth moves at 68,000 miles an hour. Kinematic teleportation. In 1/10 of a second, Earth moves at 3 kilometers, leaving the plane behind. The plane vanishes as surrounding, and who's to say they don't keep bubbling it invisibly every 3 kilometers? How many is that a second? 30? I don't know. By then, you're in the hole. Earth is gone. Earth is out of your sight now, almost, in a second. 67 times 1,000 times 68. Is it 680,000 miles away in a second? I don't know. Ask the aliens. Or ask the alien technologists on Van Navarre Bush Island or whatever it is. Alrighty then. Kinematic teleportation. Is that what I just read? Pretty much. Some of the stuff's repetitive. It's oh no, I read the first part. Post flash, the bubbles disappear and the Earth's gravity reasserts, causing the plane to fall or drift at its new position. Yeah, if you can make that bubble and control it, you aim it over at it's not Solomon Island. Why'd I forget? That island with the secret Air Force base. Whatever, you aim it over there. If you can do all this stuff, which theoretically, and not wildly theoretically, let's do some engineering, right? Let's detach. Let's let Earth go away at 67,000 miles an hour. You can go to Mars or the moon or wherever you want to go. But you got to aim yourself, which someone else can do the orbital mechanics. My brain's already fried. Sorry. Physical basis. Graviton-photon interactions are speculative. True. Enabled by quantum gravity. But reason and scientific principles, like the observe, the conservation of this or that, the cause and effect. The effect has a cause, the cause has an effect on the cause. Right? Yes. So, okay. Like I said, Aquinas, Aristotle, conservation of this and that. Is that Newton? I don't know. Observer observed. Observer, yeah. I'm going to say that's not Heisenberg, is it? I'm sorry. I apologize to the other guy. I think it might have been. College was a long time ago. Let's see. Anyway, we'll make that argument again if we have to. Energy cost. It says here 10 to the 20 joules supplied by stored energy within speculative images. You know, you want to argue about how long you want to store your energy, or you just want to pull it in and swirl it out and whip it around. Okay? We're still hung up on stored energy in this world, as we have to be for now. So Grok thinks that way along with us. But this light pumping thing, it's all about real-time use of the medium to go through the medium. It's hard to visualize that and believe it at first, but hey, if you're absorbing a photon or running it through your waveguide, technically it is stored for whatever second it was in there. And you're just pushing it back out. You can call it a thrust argument. I don't care. You fueled and thrusted and reloaded quickly. Is that the definition of propellantless? All right. Sorry you had to hear that rant from inside my head. Outside, where was I? Outside bubble, within bubble. Oh, okay. Gravitational impact. Within bubble, zero gravity allows the plane to float. Their word. I didn't use it, but I use it a lot. Stabilized by electromagnetic fields, plasmonic induced. So there's your, not plasma, plasmonic. What's the difference? You want it here or to go? So it's for a steady flight. So it floats steadily in the bubble. Outside the bubble, Earth's gravity is unaffected with no external anomalies, consistent with the video's lack of such observations. Light field's gravity. The field's energy intensity is a bunch of, numbers there. Get out your pencils and your scientific calculator. Moving on. Aerodynamic and atmospheric effects. Air displacement caused turbulence and pressure waves, producing subtle IR signatures. Gives some temperature. From ambient temperature perturbations at 9,000 or 35,000, we don't know. Whatever it is, we'll adjust. Detectable in thermal view, but blending with the background. Stabilization. Orbs electromagnetic fields counteract free fall, maintaining a steady flight, a localized anomaly. Counteract free fall, steady flight, a localized anomaly. Yeah, they're an anomaly. To us, they are. Someone else, it's obviously a tool in the toolbox. Next, atmospheric response. Air displacement creates turbulence and pressure waves, producing subtle IR signatures. From ambient temperatures and perturbations, detectable in thermal view but blending in the background. Post-detachment, air rushing into the vacuum raises temperatures, producing an IR shockwave in thermal view. So we heard this before, something like this, but they're recategorizing it because they're covering all their bases. This AI is sweet. It will repeat itself for you, so you don't have to do it yourself. But, different things have different uses in an argument. So that's what we're doing. Visual thermal cues. No visible shimmer, halo, or lensing, as IR and UV dominate. Same with all these UFOs and UAPs. And it's going to be us soon if you do what I tell you. Sorry, that sounded a little... All right. So that's why. Why are they always so blurry? Because they're intelligent creatures and they're using the ambient. Because it's easier. And it also conveniently hides them from us. But that's a secondary effect. This is how it's done. That's like saying, why they're always so blurry. It's like, why is there exhaust coming out of that car? It's so blurry. Anyway. Thermal view shows faint IR boundary. Turbulence and contrail warping blending with the ambient temperatures. Yeah. UV sparks are absent in the video. In the thermal video. Because it's not thermal. Well, because it's not UV focused. Okay. Yeah, all right. The lack of visual IR cues is explained by subtle ambient level signatures. Okay. You say so. I'm a boomer. I don't know what I couldn't tell you what VFX from a CIG. GI. I can't. I know the difference, but, not in detail. Consistency with video visuals. Matches. We have matches and unmatches. Not mismatches. Like, where's this? Something, I don't see this or that. But I do see the matches. Flashes. And they're big, they way outweigh the other things. Flash aligns with bubble completion and detachment. A broadband pulse. In IR, UV, visible in optical view. Spillover. Yeah, spilled over. A dominant in thermal view. Yeah, big thermal flash. Little bit of visible. A little bit of that light. Unwinding. What color is it? White. Because it's not a color. It's every color. Which is what an orb would spew. Orbs support a high-tech system manipulating non-visible light and gravitons consistent with rapid motion. Yeah. Disappearance. It's instantaneous vanishing because it fits kinematic teleportation as the plane is left behind. Earth is moving. Now the plane's in the thing in space where it's supposed to be. At least temporarily till you move it. And lack of visible cues. The absence of shimmer, halo, or lensing is explained by IR UV dominance, undetectable in optical view, a little typo, something. Temperature perturbations, yeah, an extra word got jammed. That might have been me cutting and pasting. Lack of visible cues. The absence of shimmer, halo, or lensing is explained by IR UV dominance, detectable in optical view. Okay. A lack of prior IR cues, subtle IR signatures blend with ambient temperatures, explaining the lack of distinct thermal cues until the flash. Yeah. No external gravitational anomalies. The lack of distorted background or levitating objects aligns with localized attachments. Yeah. All we want's the plane. We're not going to grab any seagulls while we're up there. So you're not going to see, all right, it makes sense. Except for the orbs. I'm seeing external gravitational anomalies in the orbs, aren't I? Aerodynamic effects. No visible turbulence or contrail distortion, even in thermal view. Subtle IR signatures may be too faint to stand out, but some thermal evidence is expected. Yeah. It's not perfect. It's a video shot from a thing, recorded on a screen, put up on a website and transferred 15 times. Mismatches. Aerodynamic effects. No visible turbulence or contrail distortion to stand, even in thermal view. Subtle IR signatures may be too faint to stand out, but some thermal evidence is expected. Kinematic shift. No explicit depiction of Earth's motion is shown, but the vanishing aligns with the kinematic effect. Although Ashton would probably argue with no visible depiction of Earth's motion because there is a subtle movement in the 3D clouds. That's another argument. But yeah, if it's taken from a thing way up in space, you're not going to see a lot of movement. Like when you're in a plane and it's, that's for Ashton. Okay, I read that. Thermal view detail. The lack of subtle prior cues, e.g., turbulence, is attributed to their faintness. A minor mismatch. Okay. Whatever. Yeah, well, they button up the details, Grok. Gravity-specific consistency. The lack of external anomalies aligns with the localized environment, and steady flight supports internal zero gravity and stabilization. The kinematic effect is implied by the vanishing, with non-visible wavelengths and ambient thermal signatures, resolving visual mismatches. All right, that's a mouthful to say. It's a light bubble, and it's going to move quickly. From our viewpoint, we're the one moving quickly now. It's in place. It's detached. It's out there with the CMBR now. It's part of space, not part of this. If it dips in here, it dips in here, just like any other flying saucer. And we'll get to that later, where I predicted years ago for all to see. And I'll show them right now. Where are they? Here and here. Nope. Here and here. You UFO fans have seen this spammed at you repeatedly since late 2019. The gimbal and the Tic Tac, and I described here what you're basically hearing, only they have more detail. The concept of it. And on both of these, I say, what do I say exactly? Blah, 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 force field. Could be Oh, radiation pressure emissions might feel like a force field and used for bumper cars defense. Here's the money. Could bubble wrap and move objects. Yeah. At the time, I was thinking of, these Bermuda Triangle stuff. It's like, what if one of these things came whipping by you and you get caught in its light bubble wake? Yeah, it might not transfer you to the moon, but it might move you, might save you some time or something. Might move you 250 miles or to Piper Cub Airport in Bahamas, USA, or whatever it is. So that's what I was thinking kind of at the time. But yeah, if you want to conveniently abduct somebody or something and grab a cow for some reason, think it over. So, where was I? With the localized? I think I'm done with that. What set me off on the... that's what I... No, okay, I was repeating that. So, all right, we're going on to physical feasibility. Spin 2 graviton. Hypothetical, requiring new physics for photon interaction. Speculative, but within theoretical bounds. Yeah, it's not inconsistent with Einstein, and it's not inconsistent. It's just not unified with it. And until it is, people are going to fuss. I understand. That's fine. Again, just say, hey, man, this UV is interacting, or IR, UV, whatever, both. A little bit of visible. It's interacting with gravity somehow. Is it the space-time? Is it the pressure of the space-time? Is it the aether and whatever that is and the pressure there? Is it... Just fill in your pet theory and say, hey, the light's doing something on my pet theory. Why not? As Trump once said, what have you got to lose? Okay, light amplification. Stored energy achieves this and that and this. Numbers and figures. We've heard before. Bubble formation. Gradual formation is energy intensive but feasible within dynamic control, completed in air. Bubble formation, gradual formation. Oh, okay, I repeated that? Yes, I repeated that. This is a cut and paste from Grok, which isn't easy to transfer over here. At least I don't know how to do it yet. Kinematic, teleportation. Earth's motion supports the effect, is kinematically feasible. Yeah. Say it again. Looks like teleportation, doesn't it? How would you do that? You do it like this. You could. Thermal signatures, ambient temperatures, produce a subtle IR effects, consistent with lack of distinct glow. And I would argue, okay, it's not time to argue. It's not time to attack other people's ideas or whatnot. But to me, this is easier than making a wormhole, I think. I mean... we'll leave that for later. So, this is the easy way. This is one other theory. Thermal signatures. Ambient temperatures produce a subtle IR consistent with lack of distinct glow. Okay, yeah. Visual effects. IR UV explains missing optical cues. Subtle thermal signatures align with the video. Although minor aerodynamic aerodynamic cues are underrepresented. Yeah, you don't see something they might want to see. I don't know. I don't see too many light bubbles. Orbs pulling airplanes around. So All right, detailed scenario description, how it works. Assuming the video's visuals are genuine. I'm getting a little worked up here, huh? Slow down a little bit. Okay, take a sip. Alrighty, I'm still here, don't worry. Assuming the video's visuals are genuine. Let's read it in a more user-friendly voice than shouting. Let's describe how this scenario unfolds. detailing the Orbs' creation of a non-visible light bubble, a graviton-mediated gravitational detachment, kinematic teleportation, and thermal signatures. 1. The Orbs operation. The 3 orbs, faintly glinting in the high-altitude twilight, don't you love it when AI gets poetic, are 1-meter spheres with a metamaterial skins embedded with plasmonic nanostructures and waveguides. Quantum capacitors can store blah blah blah, enabling the orbs to absorb sunlight. I'm going to have to look into these quantum capacitors. It's just a thing that stores a bunch of light. Call it a waveguide, call it a plasmonic, call it a this, call it a metamaterial, call it this or that, atomic, nuclear approaches, plasmonics, quasi-crystals. What's the other one? Oh, yeah. Isotope tweaking. Stuff like that. Whatever it is, it's stuff like that. So, and it emits it, absorbs and emits it. Yes, in IR and UV. Yeah. Adjustable for local conditions. IR minimizes Rayleigh scattering, and plasmonic cloaking ensures coherence. Okay. Orbiting a plane at 1,000 meters per second, the orbs coordinate via quantum signals. That's out of my league. How they do that? Grok thinks it might be that, or is that, but we'll leave that to the communication department. We're only propulsion over here. Weaving a bubble over 10 to 30 seconds. The IR-UV field couples with spin 2 gravitons, detaching the bubble from the Earth's gravity. Yeah, okay. I'll buy that. What do you think, folks? Like, share, subscribe, etc. and so forth. Argue, bicker, denounce, deny. It's social media, my friends. Forming the light bubble. The bubble begins as faint IR UV distortions near the orbs. Okay. Expanding to envelop the plane in a non-visible halo. Yeah. See, to me, this is like, yeah. Radiation pressure creates a vacuum lower than 1 Pascal per 100 cubic meters or something. It's a pressure. Isolating the plane, it's a lot of pressure there. Light pressure, radiation pressure, pushing the air out of the picture. In optical view, the scene is unchanged. The plane cruises steadily, flanked by orbs with no shimmer or lensing as IR-UV dominate. In thermal view, a faint IR boundary appears from compressed air blending with the background. And I would add, those orbs have cold light trails in front of them and behind them. So to me, while they're sucking in all that cold light to blow it out later, and that's what's in front of them, they're sucking it in. And behind them is what they're using to propel themselves. So they're going to need a little piece of it too while they're storing it up to blow it back out for the big zap. So, and then they merge with ambient signatures explaining their absence until the flash. Okay? You're going to do something like this, you're going to do it the easy way, the cheap way, the way we always do it here in outer space with advanced intelligence. 3. Graviton-mediated gravitational detachment. All right? At the flash, and you, again, substitute ether, whatever you want. Space-time. At the flash, the orbs unleash a something or other joule pulse. And this is their calculation, not mine. Strongest in IR-UV. But the light's there, so you use it. Okay? It's, whatever it is, it's there to use. But visible as a white burst in optical view, dominating the thermal view. The field suppresses gravitons, creating a zero gravity zone inside the bubble. It suppresses them somehow, all right? They say suppress. I like to say manipulate or mitigate or sometimes, move them around because they're all nice and ordered because they're right near a planet and they're feeling that gravity. That planet is pulling on those gravitons. But then this light comes by and bumps it a little bit, okay? It affects Then the light bends around it and bounces off. They meet. And if you got a tonnage, almost said a bad word, of light controlled by these advanced whatchamacallits, they're going to know this and how to do this. And they're going to suppress gravitons. Or manipulate the aether, manipulate space, whatever it is, whatever you call it. Do it your way. Think it over. Outside, Earth's gravity is unaffected, with no external distortions, aligning with the video's observations. Okay. Kinematic teleportation effect. This is going to be good because I bolded some of this for X, formerly known as Twitter. And let me read it. I moved it. Oh, come on. Did I lose my... Oh, I'm almost getting done here, folks, which is good. Kinematic teleportation effect. Detached, the bubble remains stationary in the CMB frame. I didn't even tell it to say that. But that's what I've been saying forever, and that's how I think of it. Okay? It's detached now from Earth. It's in the CMB frame. While Earth moves at, and I'm all over social media with that and web pages and previous videos and all that. So if you want to discuss it, find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, or something. Or leave a comment in the comments. Leaving the plane behind. Okay, yeah. Earth leaves, the plane stays. All right? Even if it's only for 1/10 of a second because we moved it 3 kilometers or something. And we moved it to the secret island. Or we put it on our spaceship. Who knows? I don't know. Observers see the plane vanish. Oh, this is the bold part. Because when I saw this, I'm like, all right, this is going to sell a lot of people on teleportation from this angle. Because I never thought of it using that word. Because I don't know why, but I don't even know the strict definition of the word, but apparently AI does and likes it, sees it here. I think of 1960s Star Trek. That's boomer away now. I remember when the first series was on. So, that's teleport me down, Mr. Spock. Beam me up, Scotty. I can't, sir. The crystals are overloaded. Sorry. Post-flash, you gotta have some cringe in here. Frickin' boomer. Post-flash, gravity oh, no, I didn't read. Okay. In bold, calm down. In bold. Observers see the plane vanish as surroundings shift, mimicking teleportation. Post-flash, gravity reasserts and the plane drifts and falls away, potentially over a new ocean patch somewhere. The sudden disappearance aligns with the video's instantaneous vanishing. Yeah. Call it teleportation. Have at it. I might even start doing it. I gotta look that up, though. Oops. 5. Atmospheric and shockwave effects. Air displacement creates turbulence and pressure waves. See, it's hard for me to not shout, but make sure my voice is loud, you know? Sorry about that. Sorry about your eardrums, some of you. The air displacement creates a turbulence and pressure waves, producing faint IR signatures in thermal view, blending with the background. We kind of covered that under something else, but this thing goes through categories and then recategorizes to cover all bases from all angles. Post-detachment, air rushes into the vacuum, raising temperatures. Yeah. Observed as shockwave in thermal view, a result of ambient temperature dynamics. That's temperature going through that air and the air moving somewhat and reacting to those changed photonic scenarios. 6. Visual and thermal manifestation, optical view. Plane cruises with the orbs, showing no bubble effects due to IR UV dominance. The flash erupts as a white burst, followed by the plane's disappearance. That's what you see in the optical view. Poof! A white cloud. Thermal view. What happens there, Grok? Faint IR signatures mark the bubble's formation nearly indistinguishable from the background. I didn't even see the faint IR signature. Well, unless you're talking about those cold light trails. Yeah, it must be it. Maybe it is. The flash overwhelms as an IR UVA event, and the shockwave appears as an IR signature. Yeah. Okay, this is the end, because this is a little footnote it made to itself in our discussions. It's called Inconsistencies Resolved. So I can't believe it, but we're done with that. And then, so we're going to move on. Wow, we read that whole tweet. And on your screen should be, let's double check here, yes, an image you might see on X. And it covers, it's just an image of the plane and the bubble and the orbs, the best image I used for the thumbnail and we looked at earlier. And it has quotes of some of the highlights, but you just heard them. But anyway, I'll link this image in the description, especially for you nuts and bolts, all propulsion heads. You know who you are. You're gonna need a little cheat sheet or whatever. I don't know. It's something to post on social media. Whatever. Enjoy it. And then we're going to talk about, of course, we have to talk about me. And we do a little bit sometimes. That, I've been saying this is how it could happen. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm saying if that's real, it could have happened this way. Like I told you, and you have to do this on social media. You have to. Like I told you all these years ago, as evidenced by this, which you've seen, and this, and elsewhere, and on my web pages, and on my previous videos, and on my whatever else, tweets, ad nauseum. So yeah, this makes sense with what I was thinking could be done. And I've been watching this Ashton and everything around him since it started. And, it's, anyone knows, and I think I said in the beginning, it's blowing up big time when you have the big podcasters coming out. And Ashton will be on Rogan at some point, if Rogan's smart. And, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, and you combine that with a science advisor saying we have the abilities to bend space-time, whatever he said. Manipulate, whatever he said. Which may or may not have been a poetic thing on his part, or maybe subtle drop in the hints, I don't know. And then Trump saying, well, we have weapons, we don't know how they work. What if that's one of Trump's weapons, that thing? I don't know. But I need a sip. So it became clear to me it was time to make a video and make that grok, whatchamacallit, argument, I don't know what you call it, and put it on Twitter and stake my claim out there. Because if this is right, they'll come out of the woodwork to say, some people act. So I have to do this. And that's life. So, then what happened? This is just a couple of footnotes about something. Plasmonics. Plasma. And this is a way I came at it. This light pumping stuff, I'm thinking like, well, you got to need something plasma-like, or I became as obsessed with a hydrogen atom as you can get without having a published paper in Physical Review or whatever. And so this was part of my journey into light matter interaction. Because what's more perfect than hydrogen? That's where light and matter meet. It's technically matter, but it moves a lot of light. It's right on the edge. It's element one with no neutron in it. It's almost, to my mind, it's almost not an element. It's a something else. I just see a boundary. I see a shield. I see that thin red line, or a thin blue line astronauts see. And the Earth is matter and the space is light. Something like that. That's your borderline. That's your access point to start thinking about this. And then you get into waveguides and there's other stuff, crystals and whatnot. But this is how I came at it. Boomer engineer, educated in the 80s. But this stuff hasn't changed since the 80s. And if you get it back into it hard, like I was doing at the time, because I forgot a lot of science, because I was a lawyer for a long time and working in technical stuff. But the longer you're in there, you forget all this stuff. And I was trying to get back in the nuclear industry, so I'm like, I could better get up to speed a little bit in case someone asks me what an electron is or something. And whatever. So start heading down these back into the physics and science and philosophy of science and all that. But what you're looking at there is an old drawing I did. Okay? And I got to pat myself in the back here. This is definitely a line in the sand or something. And it's an old drawing. It says CMBR. What's that? Cosmic Microwave Background Radiation. Space. That's what's in there. And this little drawing is a Whispering Gallery Resonator, which in my mind, you take some hydrogen and you put it in there and you blow it apart, the plasma, and you can keep it at 3 different states. It resonates between plasma, atoms, molecules, and then at the end, you make the molecule blow out some light. Now, it doesn't have to be exactly this way, but it's what would you call it, a plasmonic resonator or something? See, I never heard of the plasmonics that's out now. Back then, this is 2013 when I'm just getting into this. So that took me down a rabbit hole over here of Irving, Langmuir, and atomic welding. And this is a guy, look at your screen if you are looking. Here he is. Go look him up. I think he won a Nobel Prize, and he's a big shot. He was. There he is in the class picture. You don't get in there unless you're, Irving Langmuir or something. But he had the extreme obsession, obviously more profound and ahead of me, about the hydrogen atom. So that's how I found him. I'm like, who else has done this? Who else is crazy enough to want to dig into the hydrogen atom? Well, there are a lot of other people too, aren't there? You can put me in there, and I'm looking at it here, showing it used to pull space through matter. That's a light-matter interaction. And it's in a gravitational field, okay? And do with that what you want. You could say, no, it's in an aether field. It's in a space-time field or something like that. I don't care. It works. So, I just wanted to throw that gauntlet down or whatever I'm doing here. I just want to bring it up because it's fun to see it coming back around. And lastly, I just threw this on here as a afterthought because I did a lot of stuff years ago, and frankly, I forget about it if I don't go back and look at my web pages, which I don't because I'm just barely hanging on, trying to keep up with the current thing. What's the latest plasmonic perfect absorber, whatever? I don't go back and reread all my thoughts at the time. They're already incorporated in my being. And this is just a little graphic. I don't think I'm going to read it to you. Well, because I have another video where I did read it to you. And by my counts, which aren't that high, because I'm boring and detailed, and the only one talking about this, which could change very quickly in a big way. Because if they go looking for reasons why a thing can do that, they're going to go looking and they're going to find this video. And they're not going to be who's they? I don't know. Prejudged by, they're not going to have biases of 0 point and Albert Einstein. Some people are going to be like, all right, we love that stuff, but we're going to have to clear the decks of our minds to truly understand this. If this is something advanced, then they're going to have to do that. And maybe they already did, or some alien told them how to do it and lets them use it. I don't know. But this is a general overview of light pumping, which is what's going on here, if that's real, in my opinion. And it's bullet points, which, should I read here? Yeah, I should read. I'm going to read it. Light pumping. Deterministic, I read all that other stuff. Deterministically absorbing and emitting light to create a bubble. When did I make this? July 21. Effectively, a large gravity-eluding, inertia-ignoring, photon-like cloud to propel mass. Okay, that's what I just was talking about. Pulls and pushes the mass equivalent spectrum in the ambient medium. Through mass for thrust and momentum, like a submarine pumps water. Very pithy, I like it. Propellantless and continuous manipulation of mass in a gravitational field. Call it extreme optimized buoyancy, which Grok thinks the Silicon Valley folks who better line up someday, somewhere, around someone like this being me, they say that I said, well, what about optimized buoyancy? They said, take the lift factor of it. Because everyone knows what lift is. Lift in a gas. Lift. These Silicon Valley guys trying to make dirigibles and balloons and whatever. And they're tweeting that all the time. And that's what, you take the next step of that. You take what's happening in there, the lift, which creates buoyancy, or they're related, but lift is better. You take those lifting hydrogen atoms and you stick them on a plasmonic so-and-so or a metamaterial. It's still going to lift, but now you're controlling it. And they're not random like in a balloon bouncing around off each other. You're controlling the whole smear. See what I'm saying here? Pretty soon you got energy density. You're pulling as much light through you as is possible. I can see that light at the end of the tunnel here. All right, but you got to get in the tunnel. What's the saying from, I can only show you the door. It is you that has to walk through it. So just think about it. All right, all right, here's some points about the notion, concept, call it what you want. It's falsifiable, but unfalsified. Light matter interaction causes gravity to be mitigated as in nature. Yeah, it does. What do you think those heavy clouds are doing up there? Holding tons and tons of water that was just in the lake yesterday. All right, that's covered elsewhere in my spiels. So, okay. And a balloon does that too, and some animals do some stuff like that. Butterflies, maybe, whatever. Won't get in. That's another argument. Based in logic and observation, science confirms very easily observed in graduated anti-gravity inertia-defined phases, solids, liquids, gas, covered before, simple and intelligible, logical and demonstrable, achievable and inevitable. Prototypes not needed for concepts. Well, tell that to Silicon Valley, right? Archetypes exist. You're looking at it. Propellantless clouds, balloons, airships, and the UAPs themselves. Every single observable is utterly predictable. Advanced technology and engineering, but within reach, can be started now. Here's my little saying here. Let go of the past. Embrace the simplicity. You think God created complicated, stupid stuff? Start with the simplicity, like the hydrogen atom. It's the very shield between light and light and mass. It's the thin film there. Start there. Learn the principles there. People sense it, they feel it, they know it. All right. By contrast, light pumping does not require, and this is going to be taken as attacks on other theories, but I'm contrasting. All right? And I could be wrong. But I said some stuff here. Light pumping does not require gravitational wave generation. It does not require gravitational lensing. It does not require entangling or otherwise interacting with Planck-size gravity or space-time with highly speculative methods and materials. This is light matter. We see it every day. It's not as speculative as that stuff. It just needs to be optimized. Follow me for more life tips. Squeezed light or metamaterials capable of interaction with Planck length graviton in the vacuum. You can squeeze light, but some people were saying that, you squeeze light, that's going to bend space-time. I don't know. Equations say it might. I don't know. It might. I wouldn't care if it did. Because it's going to work anyway. You squeeze that light into the metamaterial and blow it back out. That's how you get a big zap bubbles and things. It doesn't require any hand waving. I'll do it anyway. It doesn't require obscurantist jargon. I'm trying to use plain language. It doesn't require assumption-loaded equations. All right? We got a lot of baggage out there. It doesn't require superfluous complexity. Do you hear me trying to sound smart? Do you hear me using words that I don't know what they mean? Well, sometimes. A little bit. But I'm trying to not do that. The old rule about explaining it to a 5-year-old or all that stuff. A bartender. It does not require wild speculations, theories to come, facts not in evidence, theories not in evidence, elements to be named later, Manhattan projects. It doesn't, you don't need, some people were saying, all I need is $10 trillion and I will come up with a theory that, whatever. Massive amounts of energy. No, it's using ambient energy in real time. You don't have to store up Jupiter-sized whatever, any of that stuff. Over time, yeah, it uses a lot compared to what we're used to with batteries and streaming televisions and whatnot, but, the octojoules are out there. That's what space is full of. You just have to capture it efficiently, optimally. That's what I'm telling you we need to do. That's what I'm trying to get done here. Get people interested in that. So, what am I doing? Where am I? Oh, it doesn't need negative mass per se. It'll act like it, negative mass, but there are people out there saying, all you need is negative mass. Well, I'm not big on negative masses and anti-particle, Like I said, I come from an engineering background, all right? Engineering, construction, in the office, in the field, testing nuclear plants, in the office with the designers. I mean, everything's got to be nuts and bolts, make sense, fit together, work together, and all that stuff. That's my mindset. All right, and then I spent the other half of my career as a lawyer, making sure that we knew it would ahead of time, and when things fall apart, you have big construction litigation. And why didn't this nut fit this bolt? Okay, let's sue each other and bicker and have drinks later or whatever. And settle. and that stuff. But that's my mindset, and that's why I leave out. That's why you'll hear me complaining about space-time, because it's only a mathematical concept. People talk about it like it's real, like it's a thing you can isolate in the lab. Like, I got a test tube full of space-time. I'm going to put a nut and bolt on it later. Well, and that's where the philosophy comes in. I read a fair amount of that, and at least compared to what I used to. And philosophy of science, and, slow down, be logical. It's got to work in the real world. So, where was I? I thought I should get that off my chest. It doesn't require sayings like this. It's already going the speed of light, so it can warp space. And some of these theories come up with it, and, they start with assumptions like that. I remember Sabina Hassenfelder talking about that. I can't remember what it was, but what they are is, like I say right here, tautologies. All right? People get stuck in these tautologies without really thinking it through. Another story. It doesn't need preconditions like it's already accelerating. And you know what? Some of these things that do need that might help once you're accelerating. I'm not putting that down at all. But this thing, to get off the ground, look out your flipping window at the sky. See a cloud. It's off the ground. You just don't know what you're looking at and how it can be optimized. In my opinion. Pardon me, I need a sip. It does not need a suspension of disbelief. I hope I'm not making you suspend your disbelief today. I don't play that game. I play the nuts and bolts game, down to the plank length, which is why I don't like reification of space-time, things like that. All right. So, it doesn't require. I'm sure some people are saying, this is complete disbelief. That's. Hey, I respect your opinion. I do. So where are we? It requires merely a deeper look and acknowledgement of previously overlooked root causation. Yes. What happens with these physics, the field? They keep going on to new things, but they never revisit old things based on the new things. Who has revisited lift since quantum theory? Not really. I mean, we all sit in a bathtub and see displacement and all that stuff, but does anybody go back and look at it in light of, new developments, as the dude said, right? Where was I? Especially the lift thing. People will shut that off as buoyancy, which you learn as a kid. I went over a story about when I was a kid a long time ago on here, so I just thought of it. It's not really... it is relevant, but we don't need that much detail. Previously overlooked root causation. Go back and look at the roots. Now you're smarter. Go back and look at the old problems now and then. And while we're at it, and while I'm raising my voice and pointing my finger at the camera, at you, Mr. I forget his name. Where the heck is mathematical physics on light matter interaction and gravitational field? Wouldn't you think somebody looked into it besides Einstein and Eddington, and noticed, gravity affects light. How does light affect gravity? There's some people, I'll name some. Wayne Ojala doing experiments. Louis Rancourt. His buddy Tattersall. Libor Newman in Czechoslovakia. My boy on Twitter from Nebraska, he knows who he is, who pointed this out to me. That because when they come up with push gravity, so I dismissed it. that's a whole nother story. But the guy on Twitter, he knows who he is. He brought it back up to me and said, "Hey, well, what, here is people saying, here's how light is affecting gravity." And because I foolishly, going through this the first time on my own, saying, well, they're coming up with pull gravity. I'm not looking at, that's interesting, but I know push gravity. And I only believed in old-fashioned pull gravity, when really I think it does both. And it also does inertia. But, that's consistent with the spin 2 graviton. If you look at that, say, yeah, of course it would. It would depend on how close it is to a big mass, or where it is in relative to other stuff. It's doing different things at different times, depending on where it is, just like everybody else. All right, so that's the root causation rant. I didn't know I was going there today. So we close this out by saying, are you ready for the inevitable yet? Or are you still stuck in the, quote, nobody else is saying it, comfort zone? Because there's a lot of parrots around this stuff. And I don't blame them. I'm parroting too sometimes, stuff. And yeah, that's how you learn. But don't just stop there. And then I close out by saying, yes, it is actually this obvious when framed correctly. So I think that's about it, ladies and gentlemen. I think I've about had it. I think I'm going to shut off now and even skip the outro music. And let's see, where am I here? Here I am. I'm still here. See, when you're a primitive cave streamer boomer like me, you only see that page. You don't see yourself. So you don't, when you're using this OBS software. So, as I usually do, I say goodbye in person. And have a nice day. And I think I'm coming back with a reiteration. I've updated my speech from a couple of years ago. You might have seen videos on that. It was on APEC briefly. And I've improved it and improved upon it and updated it and stuff. And it might, while I'm here I am set up and shouting at the microphone, I might do it again. Because when I did it the first time, it was new and, I'm kind of reading it kind of monotone. But now I got fire and brimstone on it. You see what I'm saying? Do you? So, it might be more effective now. So, why not? I'm on a roll. I think I might do that right now. But first, I'm going to say goodbye to you. Thanks for coming. I don't really have a sign-off. I need a tagline. But let me just take one more look at the... No, I think we're done. 1 hour and 43 minutes. I think we're done. I was having so much fun, like I said. You start out slow or scared. You want to hit the wrong button here. When it's time to go, you don't want to go. All right. See you later. Stop recording. Goodbye.